On the 11th of November, we remember. We remember the sacrifices and the privations and the lives lost in times of war. We particularly remember the First and Second World Wars, although each year there are fewer and fewer who even remember the Second. But we remember the stories told, the grainy news clips of soldiers charging over the top, or sinking ships, or Hiroshima. We remember history lessons and poems and poppies and old vets interviewed on TV. And then there are the parades and the memorial services in cemeteries and at monuments, and people in uniform with medals on their chests, old men and women with their hands being shaken and greeted for the one day of the year that they seem to matter. Church bells ring. We read the lesson for All Saints' Day. Visiting soldiers from local armories attend, carrying flags and laying wreaths on our memorials that list the names of each parishes long dead. And that is how we remember. Remembrance Day is an odd holiday, for we do not celebrate war, but we celebrate the lives sacrificed and those whose lives were forever changed. Or that is how we rationalize the very real reality. We have reason to be thankful for those wars, or at least that we were victorious. We have much to be thankful for in our freedoms, our way of life, our democratic monarchy, our legal system, and even our embattled freedom of speech. Imagine the alternative. A world in which the successors of Hitler's values, occupation, blitzkriegs, and ethnocentricity dominated our lives. By now, God's chosen people would have been eliminated from the face of our planet. Dissenters would lie in unmarked mass graves, and only the bravest would carry on the resistance more than 80 years later. So, oddly, we are celebrating war when we remember. War in which our version of the good guys triumphed. And so we cheer on our side in every war. We stand in awe and amazement at the victories of Ukraine against the Russian invaders, the 21st century version of David and Goliath. But we also turn our backs on other wars that we see as endless. So much of the African continent engaged in wars that we cannot even understand the historical and political and tribal rivalries that lie beneath the blood and the gore and the death. And we protest against the wars waged between the unarmed and governments. The women and their supporters demanding the right to remove the garments that cover all but their face and hands, protecting innocent male eyes from temptation. We write letters to the politicians and the editors as we mourn the deaths and imprisonments wrought by the morality police, a misnomer if ever there was one. We protest because we know of no other way to wage war against such monsters as those who killed the protesters' martyr, the 22-year-old student, Masha Amini. And we wonder powerless at our own government's cowardice, doing nothing to rescue the interpreters who served us through many years, men and women, abandoned as the West ceded the war and the lands to the mullahs, the terrorist leaders of Afghanistan. War is expensive. It costs endless dollars, human lives, and with atomic weapons, the very existence of our planet is in play. Can it ever be justified in such circumstances? But what are the alternatives? That has always been the question. Canadians have never wanted war. We've been blessed with a land in which our great ally, the USA, is the only threat, and its last attack on us was during the War of 1812. And yet, Canada has answered the call to arms many times, first as a French colony and then as one of Britain. As we matured, we declared our nation's willingness to serve to defeat foes threatening world peace. We have served as peacekeepers and as mediators. We sit at the UN just as we did at the League of Nations. Futile though it increasingly seems to be as minor nations become pawns, their votes for sale to the nation that threatens or finances them. We war against climate change at great cost to our nation, while the greatest polluters laugh at our efforts and exploit what they see as our weaknesses. And we seem to think that our days are the most perilous of days and our decisions the most dangerous. And thus it has ever been. For now, let us all commit to working towards the best for the world. Salute those who have served, and applaud those who join the armed forces. And remember that there are things that are more important than our property, our ambitions, or even our lives. Freedom in all its guises, decency, respect for others, and self-respect. Then there's the defeat of tyranny and criminality and hatred. Those values and goals that are so essential to life having meaning and which must be defended and protected at all costs if humanity is ever to triumph. Let's salute those who have fought for and preserved such values. Fight the good fight with all thy might, a slogan for the ages and for each day that we are so privileged to enjoy. Acknowledge our dead on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, as the Treaty of Versailles was signed in 1918, ending the war to end all wars. And wear a poppy for our armed forces, and for John McCrae, who wrote, "In Flanders fields the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep. The poppies grow in Flanders fields." So may it be. Amen. Remember what it is you are remembering as the 11th of November approaches. Is it heroism, nifty parades, elderly veterans, or is it the values for which wars have been waged and lives lost? Remember.